Good afternoon, Melanie. How are you today?
I'm great, Danielle. How are you?
I'm really good. It's been a pleasure to talk with you thus far about your experience and a little bit about where you are now and where you want to go. Why don't we just go ahead and do a brief overview of your executive assistant career? So, why don't we go
Okay.
ahead and start? Early on, you can start with the first job that you'd like to, and then we'll talk about what you've done most recently and now why you're ready to for a change.
Of course. So my first position in my career was HMR Central Florida. It's an insurance company, and I started this in it's high school. So I wanted to be able to put my experience into work. So I went to a technical school, and I was legal administrative specialist technical. So I got hired for this position. I was assisting the manager with open enrollments. I would schedule meetings. I would sit in meetings and take minutes as well. And during open enrollment, I would create presentations, I would create flyers, so I would send out to the clients. And I would personally be able to do that. I also ran the manager's calendar and, made sure that they were on time to all their meetings. And then I actually, after that, I graduated high school and I went to college. And I was there with HMR about till 2017. And there wasn't much room to grow, and I wanted to, get into a better opportunity. So that's where I went with Rosen Hotels. And with Rosen Hotels, I was a sales administrative assistant, executive assistant as well. And I was in charge of three conference sales managers, and they were also national. So, what I entailed in my position was that I would meet with the clients that were interested in booking events in the hotel or any large events that they had. I would create the contracts and I would sit with my managers and discuss any details that I needed to pass along with the client. So I was more of like the middleman, where I would communicate with the client as well. I would make sure that everything was ready to go with the food and beverage side as well. So I was more of like the planning coordinator. We did a lot of meetings as well. I also stepped into meetings and I did meeting minutes. I also scheduled their meetings, and we did occasionally some admin front desk. So we would occasionally cover the front desk. And then I stayed there for about a year. I didn't see myself quite in that position for hotels. I did want to explore my executive assistant experience and I wanted to see if I can push myself further. And that's where I landed with Appen Health Orlando. And it was a great 2 years. I have nothing bad to say about them. I was an executive assistant one, so they have three executive assistants. And I started as an executive assistant one. I supported three directors, executive directors. One was the director of pharmacy, the other one was director of the emergency services, and then the other one was nursing. So, what my job entailed with that was I would meet with them daily, go over their calendar to make sure that they are prepped for the week. And I occasionally would meet with them every day to make sure that, there some things pop up last minute and cancellations. I would step in as well with expense reports and travel arrangements whenever all three executive directors needed to go together. Usually they had a lot of trips planned, and as well as creating events. So for nursing, we had the Daisy Awards, and that's quarterly. And I had the responsibility of setting that up, and it was great. It was a big event that we had to consistently do quarterly, but it was very rewarding for the nurses because, especially when I worked there, it was COVID, and we wanted to make sure to provide them, that capacity of being supported. And then as well, I had the responsibility with pharmacy. I actually created the first pharmacy town hall series when I worked at Avon Health. It was great. We provided a lot of information to pharmacy residents. We had consistently new residents coming in, and the director was a little bit occupied from consistently meeting with them. So she gave me the responsibility of creating flyers that had important information that a new resident needs to know, and all the important information on who to go to or where to find it. And I had also the responsibility of creating employee events. So the executive assistants will team up and we would create the quarterly events for all of our employees. You know, it was great. It was a blast. And then from there, I wasn't able to move up. It was a little bit difficult just because of COVID. That's when COVID hit, and we ended up going remote for a while. And I love working remote. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it was getting to a point where I'm okay, you know, it's slowing down, jobs are closing, but I want to see if I can have a better opportunity. And the goal is to eventually get to where I want to get, which is long term being executive assistant and be able to help, you know, the person I am long term and be their right hand. So I ended up going to Osceola Regional. It was a lot closer to home, so it had to do a lot with traveling too. We did have to do remote, but we also had to come in person. So just to make it easier on me and the whole COVID situation, I accepted a position with executive assistant with Osceola Regional, and I was there for less than a year. That was because I ended up expecting, so I took a year off and. It was great, but my job entailed with that position was I supported the C-suite. So I had three C-suite leaders that I would support. It would be the CFO, assistant CFO, and the CMO. So chief medical officer and chief financial officer and assistant chief financial officer. I would actually help a lot with just the C-suite in general. I would help a lot with the CEO. And my responsibility there, I was also a contract coordinator. So I had a little bit of more responsibility in keeping all the contracts up to date for the entire hospital, as well as licenses. I did travel arrangements as well for all the C suites. I did expense reports and I kept up with all the COVID. We had COVID meetings and we want to make sure we provide all the information necessary for everyone to be able to work appropriately, keep up with all the supplies that we needed to keep up with. So that's where I ended up with. And now what I am looking for is to still be an executive assistant somewhere long term, and feel like I'm making a difference. Of course, my last positions, I felt like I was making a difference, but I just wanted to be a little bit more. So that's my goal.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Melanie, I normally ask a whole lot of questions. I sometimes probably talk more than I should during our recorded portion of the virtual interviews, but you just did an absolutely amazing job. I think
Thank you.
you touched on everything that I would have asked you. So I'm going to go ahead and end this part of
Okay,
the interview, but don't hang up because we still have some more things to talk
you got it.
about the position and such. So don't hang up.